Hey, everybody, it's Carol here with Anthony and Tracy. We are continuing on from the last episode where we talked to Nina and Allie about their experience with mediumship. Today, we have a married couple, Chris and Rhiannon, and they are going to talk about mediumship in regards to the loss of their son, Zach. Welcome, Chris and Rhiannon.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I know. We're so excited. We really are just trying to talk to people about their mediumship experiences so that people who maybe haven't had one before can know what to expect. So, Rhiannon, I know that before the loss of your son, you had not had a mediumship reading. Did you know what mediumship was at all?
I did. I didn't know as much as I know now, but
Mhm.
I knew a good bit of it before loss. And I've always been infatuated with things like that. It was just always like so cool to think of the other side and spirit and, stuff like that. Into the paranormal stuff and knocks and bangs and booms and stuff like that. And I've always wondered if that was, somebody from the other side. I've never really dealt with loss before.
Mhm.
So I didn't have anyone that I was like, oh, I want to go talk to so-and-so. So it wasn't until after the loss of my son, I have a mediumship reading, and it just blew my mind away. It was absolutely amazing. I knew it to be true, but I was kind of still like a little skeptical about it, right? Like, is she really feeling and seeing this stuff? And then she started speaking, and I'm like, oh my God, that is my son. Like, she brought in his essence, his personality. Zach is our son, and he was larger than life. He was such a big, big soul. And the thought of him as just being gone was absolutely unacceptable to me. Like, there's no way. And so that is where I set out to find where my son was.
Rhiannon, after your loss, when did you begin to feel like you might want to get a mediumship reading?
It took a couple of months for me to get into that. But then, of course, I go to YouTube and I watched all the mediums that do readings and all of that stuff. And then suddenly my son brought me to the moms group that I now tend to.
So, since you had been skeptical in the past, but also open to the idea, did you ever take the approach of like looking for your own signs without seeing a medium first?
When he first passed, I was looking for these signs, because he knew I was into all that stuff. And I just knew, like, my son's going to be banging on walls and he's going to be knocking things over and he's going to cause a ruckus. And it was nothing, like nothing at all. And I'm like, nope, not acceptable. And so ever since my first one, it made me more at peace. It gave me hope to know that wherever I am, he is. And it was just the most incredible, beautiful reading I've ever had. Now, since then, I've had dozens. He likes to pop in, but it's nice to just have him pop in and say, what's up, Mom? I'm right here. Just as a little reminder, because still, when I don't hear from him, I'm like, where'd he go? Like, is he gone from me now? And so that's kind of hard to deal with sometimes. He'll pop in when I get in that mode to say, nope, I'm right here still. And it helped me deal with his death a lot better because I know he's not dead.
It brought you that hope. That's
It
what you were
did.
seeking. And that's what you
Absolutely.
found with the reading.
Absolutely. That is what I found. And I find that our other moms get the same thing. We encourage people to get mediumship readings from a reputable source, of course.
Of course.
Of course, but there's nothing like having that communication with somebody so close to you, someone that you gave birth to right there on the other side. He's not gone. He's not. And that's what mediumship has done for me. And it's brought me to a place where I can help other moms who are kind of weary on whether or not this is real. And so I just encourage them to come, and they do, and they feel that hope and peace, even if they don't get a direct reading. I tell the moms, if one boy or one girl can come through, they all can come through. Nobody is any different. And in here. Nobody.
Yeah, it's for everybody. You don't have to be somebody extra special to get
That's
a
right.
reading from your loved one.
That's right.
Yeah, I was just thinking, speaking of other moms, because you're a big part of that group,
Mhm.
it sounds like you were emphatically believing in it because you had kind of this foundation you said about all of it to
Mhm.
begin with. But in your experience dealing with all the other moms, do you find that people have had a reading and then question? Because we hear that a lot from people when they're kind of new to it, like,
Mhm.
well, was it really that? So I know you
Mhm.
are a big support in that group. So what's your experience with some of the other parents, you know?
So, vast majority of the moms that didn't necessarily believe it before or kind of questioned it and then came to our reading, hands down, believe it 100%. Now, I have had a couple of moms, and when I say a couple, I mean less than 6 moms still question whether or not it was real. And it's just an open communication that I have with those moms that I kind of like highlight things that were said. Sometimes moms will think that the mediums go to their Facebook page and they go through their Facebook page and they get all this information. And look, our mediums ain't got time for that.
I don't even have time to look at my own page.
Do not have time for that, okay? And there are 12,000 moms almost in our group. Nobody gets picked out of the air. These are spirit led. We have no clue which moms are coming and which moms aren't. So, do you honestly think that the mediums go through 12,000 Facebook pages?
Most of the evidence isn't anything they would find on a Facebook page anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always say that you need to be open and almost find your inner child and then explore your spirituality and
sure.
all of that.
Yep. And that's what I tell the moms when they come
Yeah.
in. I do a whole spiel. We open the room like an hour early so I can go over everything with the moms. And I tell them all the time, come in with 0 expectations, none. Come in with an open mind and an open heart to know that anything is possible. We never know what spirit is going to tell us. And they'll come and they'll give us some like information that we even forgot about. And then it's like, oh my God, I remember
Mhm.
that. Where is anybody going to find that information? Literally, it happens every single reading. It happens. And we do these every week.
Yeah, it's even funny for the mediums because we don't know what we're going to get when we start connecting. And so I always find that just so exciting, to get those details.
I've for years sat there and just been quiet, had the TV off, and listened to Rhiannon in the group. And I'm just absolutely dumbfounded at how pinpoint accurate you yourself, along with the other mediums, are on people. I would just sit there and like be mesmerized, listen to it. Some of the craziest stuff, like today, I got behind a school bus. School's not in session down here. I
Mhm.
got behind a school bus and the number was 420. And so when we were getting ready for the services with our friend who owned the funeral home for Zach, it's the time of passing. Rhiannon just says deadpan. It was 4 something. She goes, put down 420. Zach like to indulge in his marijuana. It's a weird thing there. So, but I got behind a school bus and I took a picture and I looked at the picture. I didn't see it when I first took the picture and it said 420. I'm like, hey, son.
A wink and a nod.
Exactly.
Were you always open to it, Chris, the same way Rhiannon was before the passing of your son?
Yeah. My grandmother was a medium and my mother was a medium. They never charged. They read for free. And it skipped every girl in my family and landed on me. When Rhiannon and I moved into a house, the first day we were moving in, I walked by and I saw a little girl on the steps. And I looked back and she was gone. And I sat down and I told Rhiannon, I said, her name is Macy. And so the next day, the lady next door pulls up and Rhiannon goes, did any girls live in this house? She goes, all the girls did. All their names started with an M. And Randy goes, did they have a Macy? And she goes, yeah, but she passed away. I grew up in a house built in the 1780s. It was a big house with a huge parlor, biggest house in the Pendleton family. And there was over 30 services over the years of, because back then there was no funeral homes, it was just undertakers in the 1800s, 1700s. So they would put the body out for the wake in the largest home that the family had. So there were pictures of over 30 people laid out in our parlor in the house that I was raised in until I was 14. And I used to hear people talking to me, but I couldn't see them. And it frightened me to death. Scared me. Not so much anymore, but it
Yeah.
scares me.
Well, I had experience as a child too, so I understand. And I have fussed at spirit before by saying, you can't scare the children.
I'll cover my head up because if I can't see them, they can't see me.
That's right. I had the same thing under the
Yeah.
covers. But Chris, it's kind of different. So you had experience. You're obviously a medium, even if you're not a trained medium. But it's different when your son passes, right? So I had
Yes.
experiences too. And then, but when my
Yes.
son passed, then it's a
Very
different
different.
thing. And I very much knew I could hear from him through another medium as well, but it was still kind of scary. So did you have any fears around going to see a medium,
You
not your
know,
own son?
I I did. I was apprehensive. And so Rhiannon gets in this group. There's like 1,100 people there. So we paid the fee. We all went. I expected nothing, right? He comes to us second and he spends 17 minutes with us. And he describes Zach to a T, stuff nobody outside of the family would know. Every time I got a new cologne, Zach would ask me for it. I would give it to him. He literally had 20 bottles of cologne stacked in his windowsill. And, when he said, "What's with all the colognes?" And he just started pinpointing stuff that nobody would know. I was completely blown away and I was hooked. And when Rhiannon got in the group, I would just sit quietly on the couch and just listen to y'all read people so incredibly accurately for people. And, that reading gave me comfort because the first thing he said was, "That's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad." And that had meant a lot to me because Zach biologically wasn't mine, but he was with me from the time he was 8 till he was 26. And he was exactly like me. And people would say, "Oh, I see the resemblance." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But it was my belief because being an untrained medium, I always chalked up my things to like coincidence, happenstance, whatever. And I was talking to Zach one time, and Rhiannon said to herself, "If it's really Zach, tell me his favorite color." And within seconds, I said, "Wow, he just waved his hand and turned all the buildings purple. And purple was his favorite color." And she's like, "Oh my God," I just said to myself, "Tell me the favorite color." But I'm not trained, never pursued it. I'm not as, you guys are like, you'll go on for 10 or 15 minutes with somebody, which really made me a believer and made me interested in listening to Rhiannon in the group when you guys would read people. Because I know how much comfort it gave me, and you can almost hear it in their voice. There's almost a relief, a hope, a relief, and a belief at the same time. And it gives incredible comfort to somebody who's lost a child.
When you're dealing with child loss, that light in our eyes goes out. Can't see the light. And when they get a reading for the first time and that light goes back on,
Yeah.
it's the most incredible image that I've ever seen.
I agree.
And it's second to giving birth to my children. It's the most beautiful, beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that, to be a part of the mediumship where we're giving hope to the mom that thought they would never have hope.
Chris, you've talked about how reading affected you. So what changes did you notice in Rhiannon after you guys got a reading?
Yeah, I personally believe it saved Rhiannon's life.
It did.
She was spiraling down, and I just saw her not taking care of herself and letting things go. And that was not like her. And the group completely turned her around, and I saw the light come back in her eyes and her purpose and her, things that she does. I absolutely credit that group for saving her life.
And it was all because of the mediumship, knowing that our babies are right here. And I give thanks to that every day, because chances are, had Zachary not led me, and that's what I believe our children on the other side lead us to where we need to be. And he brought me to that group. And now that group is a major contributor to why I am still here today. That's what I want to do for the other mom. And so I encourage And sometimes I even beg them to just give it a try.
This has been a whole new repurposing of her life.
I sure wish I had the gift.
Yeah. That's one of my
Right?
taglines. I can teach anybody to be a medium.
Right. Yeah. Do either of you navigate your daily life differently with people that aren't in the group, or like family members or friends that maybe either don't know that you are into this or maybe would be offended by it or don't understand? Like, how do you both move through those sort of relationships?
Yeah. I don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
I was a professional wrestler for 35 years and I was the bad guy. So I've had 5-year-old kids telling me I suck and I'm a loser. What's an adult going to say that's going to hurt me? And I was a cop for 10 years. So
Yeah.
I've been in two things that you take a lot of abuse at.
And so for me, I actually do have people in my life. So we're from a very small town in North Carolina in the South where everybody is a Christian kind of thing. And I do have a couple of people who judge. I try explaining to them to just see what it's like and to see what it's done for me. And I don't force it on anybody. My mom is very open to it. As far as my family is concerned, they're very open to this kind of thing. But it's just a few people in my life that believe it's the devil.
So what do you say to that?
They're full of shit.
My kind of girl.
You can edit that out if you need to. I mean, seriously, like you can't judge something without seeing it. I understand that you don't understand it. And so I will try to explain it to them as best as possible. But some are just steadfast and nope, it's the devil, kind of thing. My childhood best friend, 30 plus years we've been friends. And Abigail, our daughter, she's 19 now. She's got the gift. She's turned it completely off, though. I keep trying to encourage her to open it. Nope, not right now. So years ago, she's in the military. So she's been, stationed in Germany, and she was coming in for a visit and she was staying with us. And I started to talk to her, and this was way before Zach crossed over. I started to talk to her about Abigail's gift, and she was like, stop right now. I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to know anymore. And so I just was like, are you for real right now? Like, that's what you're doing? We can't even have a conversation. It's not like I'm doing anything. It's not like Abigail's coming in and giving, details about who's around her or anything. It was just a conversation. Nope, she stopped that. So I was just like, okay, it's something that is not for her, and that's okay. And we don't talk about it at all. So there's two people, actually, her and Zach's girlfriend's mother. I tried to explain it to her as well. And she's not like, stop, don't talk to me about it. She's just like,
The old, oh, you're crazy.
yes. And so I'm accepting of those who aren't accepting of it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm not going to change how I am
Yeah.
because it doesn't fit your narrative.
Well, you never know when you're planting a seed anyway. Like
Yeah.
they could reflect 5 years from now after they have a loss or whatever, and remember that and then come to you. That happens too. So,
Yep.
Accepting people for where they're at and planting the seeds is a good thing, but also understanding you can't change people's minds.
No. And the same thing with the group. We have moms that come in that don't believe. It isn't for some of our moms, actually. It's okay. We still love them. We still welcome them, still encourage them to come to a reading. Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
You would both say it sounds like you came away from readings uplifted
Oh my
and not
gosh.
feeling like something evil was following you
No.
home.
Right. I mean, it's absolutely
The gift.
beautiful. There's nothing like it in the world.
Well, you said comfort as well, Chris, and I always think that's the only reason I want people to be open to it is the healing and the comfort that they can obtain from it, right? And that reconnection with their loved one. So have you been to many mediums? Do you get that from all mediums? Or, and is it style that might be more of an interest or?
Oh, I find completely there's nothing like the style of our mediums. They just throw out what they get. For the most part, I love the style of our mediums. There's been no better comfort than to talk to my son on the other side.
Rhiannon, when you get a reading, what type of evidence means the most to you when you go to see a medium?
It's amazing how the mediums can bring in the essence of that person. I had a very difficult time thinking of my son hanging out on a cloud, playing a harp in a white robe with a halo around his neck or around his head. I'm sorry. That was not our son at all. And so when I got my reading, she brought in the badass that my kid was. And it's amazing to know that everything that hindered them in life is gone and it went immediately, but that the essence of who they are still there. Our son was a self-proclaimed asshole. He knew it. He owned it. He said it. He still is on the other side. And I love that. That probably gave me more comfort than anything else, is to know that my kid is still who he is on the other side.
The energy that the mediums felt was reflective of the Zach you knew and know.
Absolutely. Which I find to be most incredible. Not so much the evidence, who they are.
The essence.
Yeah.
That blows me away. I've had a lot of guilt with the fact that I was in Baltimore on business when this happened. And I went to the airlines. They couldn't get me out. I was going to rent a car and drive. But then the airline says, we can get you out at 4:45 in the morning. And I'm like, well, by the time I drive, it's the same time, so I'll fly. But I've always harbored some guilt that maybe if I was home, he would have called Dad. He came over and talked, and it wouldn't have happened. And so when he's came through a bunch of times, I know that he's came through for me to relieve that guilt and let me understand that that was part of his soul contract or whatever he agreed to ahead of time. That was when, how, and where it was supposed to be. So I think through the readings and what I've heard when Zach comes through and Rhiannon's in group and I'm just sitting there quietly, is I realized that let go of the guilt, right? Number one. And number two is try to replace sadness and depression with joyful remembrance and celebration. And that's really what has changed for me.
And I've noticed that for other moms, that's the more they have an understanding of how it all works, the easier it becomes for them. But they have to start getting that understanding first.
Or is it that they're more open to it? Once you've seen it a lot, I think that happens a lot. I want to go back to what Chris was saying about the messages, because we talk about that amongst our medium selves here about how that is just as important, if not more, than the evidence. So it's like the evidence of them is just to prove to you that this is who's giving the message, but it's the message that's where there's the healing, right? And the hope and the comfort. And Chris, I also want to ask you, just as a man here who's open to mediumship, because our clients by far are more women than men. What would you say to other men about seeking out a mediumship reading?
Well, it's not going to make it any worse because it's already bad. Only thing it's going to do is make you realize that your child has just had a transition to a different phase, but they're always around you. They always know what's going on. And I would say, look, you got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Be open-minded about it and learn to take the signs. But I think after the comfort I've gotten from the readings that we've got through the group, I mean, it actually helps me get through the day. And a lot of times when I saw the school bus that had the number 420 on it today, I just started laughing instead of starting crying. I just started laughing. I'm like, oh my God, he's everywhere.
Yes, he is.
Guys, unfortunately, some men are just so close-minded. You couldn't use a crowbar and open up their mind, I just say, you got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Get a reading. Give your child the opportunity to connect and speak with you again.
I love that Zach gave you the healing, Chris. Getting rid and clearing, right? No, maybe coulda, shoulda, woulda, as in that guilt, right? And then almost, what can I give my dad? I can give him healing by clearing out those ideas from his mind and allowing him to come back to the joy and the memories.
100%.
So that's what I love from your story.
Thank you. Yeah. But a big difference.
Chris, I'm telling you now another thing. Your son painting all the buildings purple, and I was like, to me, purple is intuition and psychic. So it's almost like a big sign to Dad as well. You're way more into this, Dad, than you realize.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm way into it. I'm way
I
into
didn't
it.
know that. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's like Chris's bus with the 420 on it. It's like you can look at that and completely ignore it, or you can look at that, laugh and say it's a sign from your son.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's where the healing happens.
Yeah.
When you do things like that, to know that you heal a little bit more each time that happens.
I like that you brought up come to a group reading, Rhiannon, because that's a nice way to start too. If you are a little leery of it, just like you guys did, you went to a group reading first. I can just observe somebody else, because that can be very healing too. So if you are a little nervous, that's a great way to get started.
Sometimes when a child will come through for a mom the first time and I'm listening to the group, the tears will just stream down my face because I can just hear the comfort that mom is getting from their child coming through. It's one of the most beautiful things you could listen to or hear.
I tell every new mom that I talk to, just come, just sit and listen if you want. It was just 2 weeks ago. Mom, first timer there, her child transitioned 2 months ago, and her daughter came through, and she wasn't expecting anything. I got a message afterwards that it literally started her healing process. That's how amazing it is.
Just for them to know there is light at the end of the tunnel. So seek out a reading, even if you think there's no hope, seek it out. Well, thank you again so much, Rhiannon and Chris, for joining us.
Pleasure meeting you, Anthony. Tracy, I'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.
For your time. Yes, we appreciate all of our guests, including Nina and Allie from last week's episode. Also, this is the end of our first season. We thank you so much for listening. We hope you really enjoyed everything and learned a few things about mediumship and ethereology and things you might not have considered before.
One of the things that I loved about this season was that in reflection of listening to them, they all kind of just strengthen the idea that we're all this oneness, because if you listen to the episodes, any episode, there's a connection thread that I feel ran through them all, which I feel like, so no matter what subject you pick, it all leads you back to the oneness and your inner growth. And I really like that I feel like we accomplished kind of coming at that from a lot of different angles. But it was just fulfilling for me personally. And I was really just grateful that we took this opportunity and put our hearts into it. So we hope you all enjoyed it.
And I love chatting in general.
Yeah, and we love talking. And
I liked all the topics as well. So I really enjoy doing this with the two of you as well. So I'm glad we did it. And I hope everyone enjoyed it as well.
I did too. It's just, I love nothing better than to explore my favorite topics with people who also love my favorite topics. So,
right.
It's been great. And on that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Slán.
See ya.
Wouldn't want to be ya.